How's it going, guys? It's Nutshell here, and today I want to go through a video where we have a look at one of the best methods that was available within the PvE mode for Escape from Tarkov, netting you tens of millions of rubles an hour, and having a look if that is still possible with the recent changes, especially with regards to the AI changes that BSG have brought in, whereby now PMCs will move around the map and it makes the run a whole lot less kind of safe, I guess, within the game. Of course, starting off with an abandoned factory marked room key straight out of an intel folder, which was definitely quite lucky. But of course, we'll get into what this method actually revolves. It is, of course, a streets run that we are doing, and essentially just running our character on streets. And not just any character, you can either use your actual character or use a scav. Now for us, we've got a scav with a flare on, which is funny because that's like, what, 600k or something like that. But we'll run our scav either way, even if it isn't the best one to run on streets. But of course, you can select either time of day. The recent changes to the maps mean that Streets is the only active server-based map in the game. Primarily, I assume because of the performance issues that would happen on such a large-scale map with so many different objects having to be rendered by your PC whilst also trying to play on your PC at the same time. It's why factory and stuff for smaller maps is much faster, better FPS on your computer than it is when you have such a larger map such as Streets, which is why they've done it server based, I assume. It does mean that, of course, it is server based, so you do have load in times, that sort of thing, but they're not too bad with currently how it stands. So I thought I'd cover a few little bases to this. But you can run either PMC or your scav in order to essentially do this method and this loot run. And you can net still, after the recent changes to the amount of loot that you do get, a decent amount of money, and we'll cover those decent amounts of money as well through this video. So it was trying to showcase that even if we don't get the rusted key, which is the biggest thing of this video, I have an opening that I have successfully done. So if we don't manage to get the rusted key within this raid, I'll add it on top of this video so you guys can see what that actually looks like with the new loot that you get from those rooms. It's definitely changed from what I can tell compared to what it previously was, but it's still very, very good and can net you a solid amount of money and worth checking every single time. Now, since I previously did my video, we've managed to actually get up to 6 scav rep, which allows you to essentially not be targeted by the bosses on the map, which is fantastic because that just means that you can basically have support from the bosses, not directly because you're not going to be calling them over or anything like that, but essentially you're not going to get targeted by them and you can freely go around the map, including the boss locations, to do whatever you want to do. There are still PMCs, and from the scav runs that I've actually done on this, we've had to take out quite a few of those PMCs within each of the raids. I think averaging about 2 or 3 every single time. The problem is that, of course, we've got a sniper rifle with a flare, which is definitely not the best for trying to deal with PMCs. But we're going to make our way over to the factory area, if I can manage to actually get out of here, hopefully. Of course. There we go. Now, normally there's PMCs directly in front in the office building over there. We have spawned somewhat close to where we want to go, and it's primarily the Klimov shopping mall right on top. There's usually a sniper, so if you're playing as a PMC, you need to take that guy out. And of course, the boss Kolontai can actually spawn inside of there. And of course, you have Kaban as well, I believe, who will also be on the map. Now, when you move up to here, there is often PMCs around this bus area, as well as over to the left in the building. So there are the PMCs, I believe. So what we'll do is we will run away just real quickly. PMCs will often move away. You can see them all there. Now, we could go for some kills here, but it's really dependent on, you know, if you want to play more passively and secure yourself some kills. So checking over that guy. Not entirely sure. It could be a scav, but it's hard to tell. And of course, you don't want to get beamed whilst you're actually just normally playing. So I decided to just screw it and just run because, yeah, either way we're going through the underground location. I'm sure that we'll get aggroed if they are actually PMCs, but just a word of warning, when you do come up to that truck, there can be PMCs there. They look like scavs, so maybe it was just a group of scavs, but trust me, there are PMC spawns that can go there, and you've got to be aware of that. It's usually not too bad because you can just hide behind some of the buses and then just peek out and headshot them. I've done that many a time on this map. It's really not too difficult. The main thing if you're playing on a PMC is to watch out for the sniper scavs, which are just basically littered around the entire map and can just be a real pain. Now you can check the dead scav over here. It's a good way of getting a little bit of extra loot, and sometimes you can get all sorts. So luckily we've got ourselves an MP7, which is a nice little add-on to what we've got. So we'll push into the actual room here. I've never really seen any PMCs inside the building so far, but where we're coming to check the first spot is this area here. Now when you do actually get the key, it will spawn on here and over on this left hand side. There are two spawns, one right there and one there. So just one in front of the hammer, one on the left hand side. Now unfortunately we haven't actually got the key, but if it is there, I will overlay some gameplay so you know exactly what it looks like. You can see that upstairs there was some characters. I don't know where they actually are right now, but that is where the boss will spawn, often upstairs in the building. Now what we do from here is we are going to make our way all the way back to where we came from. You want to check your extracts because there is an extract in the shopping mall, but we'll come back to that later on. But from here what we can do is go back the way we came, and it's pretty much opposite of where we spawn. It's really not too bad. We'll just check down the street with a flare, which is very, very handy to have. And you can see there, not sure if those are PMCs. They could very well be, but usually they don't aggro you until you're quite close at the moment on PVE. So that could change later on down the line. And we don't 100% know what BSG are actually going to end up doing, but just be aware of that. PMCs will react as any other map in the game. So yeah, it's not really too much of an issue at this moment in time. So usually what I'll do is I will pop through this building over here. There's usually a spawn on the desk of something. Unfortunately not there. There can be a spawn on this desk right there. And also on the shelves there can also be some spawns. And then under here there can also be spawns. Now unfortunately for us, because of the loot changes that BSG so graciously did for us, yeah, they popped them. They just basically removed most of the loot actual on the map. And then you can see over here you've got some drawers and that sort of stuff. You can pick up loose stuff like that. I'm not too bothered. We just want to be light so we can run around in this raid, but if you are trying to min-max, that is what you want to do. You can see here we've got ourselves a pistol. We actually need that for a quest, which is super handy. And then outside here we will go over to the right hand side. And this is another area where PMCs can be. They kind of float around in this location directly in front, as well as up the street to the left. In here you can often find a medical box or a medical crate, whatever you want to call it, that you can open. And yeah, it's a nice way of getting a little bit of extra loot. We saw someone up there, not entirely sure if it's a PMC or not, but we are probably going to have to fight some PMCs. In terms of coming to the actual rusted room, we're basically directly next to it right now. And it's up this stairs over here, and then you go up this little stairs over here, and then once you jump over all of this garbage and stuff like that, you can jump over again. And then you go right to the top of the stairs, and it's this room right here. This is the room at which you can get a ton of loot, mainly keys. But of course we haven't got the key, so we can't open it. But if you do get the rusted bloody key from where we were previously, that's where you can open it up. And I'll probably overlay some form of us opening up the keys, and then we'll have a loot breakdown of what we got from the key opening that we did do, and then some of the loot that we get from here. Now, when we come from here, we want to be checking over in this location. Not entirely sure if that is a scav. It probably is. Oh, that might not be actually. Don't really know. Probably is. He didn't aggro me, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And then we'll come up here, and then we want to go into the relaxation room spawn, which is over to our left. And then what we do is usually make our way over to the relaxation room itself. And I'll show you the kind of route from here, how you get over there. We've got some duffels. There's loads of rare loot spawns in here that can just be lying around, as well as a couple of weapon spawns. This is usually where you can pick up a weapon if you haven't already got a decent one. And stuff like that. They can be on the wall. There's usually quite a few. They can be on this weapon rack over here. Now, luckily for us, or unluckily for us, we haven't actually got any weapons. And then in here, we want to be checking this kind of area here and on top of the door, because there can be the key that we want. And then inside of here, there can also be a key spawn on top of here. This is for the relaxation room. And then you can check the desk for just stuff that you might want for the rest of the raid. And you've also got a safe in here. You've also then got, of course, a duffel spawn that can come and spawn there. And then in here you got another duffel spawn, as well as stuff that can spawn on the table, but nothing too interesting, at least not for us in this raid. Got ourselves a pistol and some chlorine. We'll just take it out. And then in here is another spawn. So on this kind of in the fold of the paper right there, you can get something. The key, and then on here you can also get the key. So down there on those, of course the desk can sometimes have like graphics cards lying around that you can pick up, and that sort of thing. Nothing there right now, but then we're going to move over into this location. You can also get graphics cards, variety of different rare spawns on top of the tables, so always worth having a quick check. This chair can spawn stuff. On here can also spawn stuff. The pig right here in its mouth can be if the keys aren't in any of the locations that are within this building, then there can be a key which will have the relaxation room key in it. So you can get yourself the office key in here. So that is another one. You want to check all of the desks, make sure you haven't missed anything. Got ourselves a MRE there, which we'll take. Look like a Tetris on the table there. Once we've opened up this, we'll check to see. It is indeed, so a little bit of rare loot there, and then in the skull of this can be the relaxation key, and then over here in between this figurine's legs can be the other spawn. Nothing there at the minute, which is a bit of a feels bad, but we will make our way over here. Computer to open. There's computers in all of the rooms basically, but yeah, knowing our luck, we don't get anything. And then in here you want to just check the desks, everything like that. Check the seats. Check on top of there. Nothing so far. Bit of squash. Not interested. And then on here, you can also get essentially the key. It's by this umbrella. So that can be where the other key is. And then we've got ourselves another duffel bag and stuff like that. So it's just basically loot, like loaded with loot and stuff on this map. It really is probably the best map for just getting money out of every single one of your raids, as well as also having some very, very good rooms to open. And considering the prices of some of the marked rooms, which have come down quite nicely, it's definitely a nice little addition to your loot runs. Now, this is where the actual key has spawned in this raid. So you can see here by the garbage is another spawn, and then the final spawn is actually over here in the next to the pizza box. It's kind of underneath it on the right hand side. That will be where the actual other spawn is of the key if you want to do the relaxation room. Now, you've got a couple of choices. You can either go to the relaxation room and then extract from there, or you can just exit of the raid and sell the key. The key itself is worth quite a bit of money, but it's completely down to you as to whether or not you want to sell it. And that is ultimately where we're going to go now. We are going to make our way all the way over to where the key can actually be. So we are going to make our way over this way. And so it's basically over by quite a few of the extracts. So it's really nice to actually go to. Once you open up the relaxation room, you don't have to run very far, which is always a good thing. Streets being such a big map can be quite confusing. But when you play on something like a scav, it's really nice because of the fact that you can learn the map at the same time as making money and being completely risk-free if you do get taken out. You're not losing money, you're not losing gear, and essentially it's only a net benefit if you do actually extract. You're not costing you anything, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's a great way of actually going around the map, learning the map, and then using it for your PMCs, because there are a ton of tasks that you can do. We're just having a look around in here. This is a decent place to actually get a bit of loot. Now there's quite a few doors and openings that you can actually go through here. I don't know exactly which was the door that opens up, and here we go. So a little bit of a rat cola. And we'll do a quick 180 and into the bathroom, check the bathtub. Bit of food. Anything else? You also get an overview of what's down the street. That could be very well be a PMC right there. No, it's definitely a scav. Cool. And then through here. Cool. Now we can keep going upstairs, there's more stuff, but we'll just go outstairs as a easy and quick way of getting out. That kind of scared me. Ugh. And we can, well, might as well check this. Also regaining a bit of stam. Grab the rubles. And you can check on top of all of that if you need some food, etc. We will actually eat the peas. Obviously, Lexos over there. That is sometimes where PMCs will actually spawn. We could check this this dead scav over here. Can potentially have something decent in it. He didn't. I wasn't sure if that is actually a PMC. It could very well be. Now all we're going to do is run over to the relaxation room, which is down this street. Just need to check around for any PMCs. Looks like there's someone in the middle over there, which we saw just a second ago. But we're not really too interested. You don't have to fight anyone on this map either, really, when you do play a scav. It's pretty safe to just go around the map, because obviously the PMCs usually don't aggro you until you're very, very close. So you don't have a whole lot to worry about there. We haven't got a huge backpack, so if you can take out a scav, that's perfect, because obviously when you have a smaller backpack, you can't take out as much loot, which can mean that sometimes it's not actually worth opening up some of the keys, as yeah, you're not going to be able to take everything out. But it's an interesting one to check the relaxation room at the same time, because the spawns of the keys were definitely changed when it comes to the rusted key room. As you probably saw, we weren't getting too many valuable keys. I really didn't get too much when it came to those valuable keys. I've saved them up as well, so we can have a look at them at the end of this raid. So you can kind of see what the average price of when you do get the rusted key was. We didn't actually get any of the kind of super rare rusted room keys that you can actually spawn in there. Obviously outside of here, you've got the possibility of getting yourself some rare loot in the safe, which we're actually getting pretty lucky with, which is something to say. And we'll grab that one. I think we actually need a raven for something. We can open up this room right here. And then inside there is usually a ton of rare loot. We're talking all of the bobbleheads, usually having moonshines, that sort of thing. But we'll see how it actually cooks in this video. compared to previously. I think we averaged probably over the course of like 10 raids before they nerfed all of the loot on streets, about 4 moonshines every single time that we opened up this room. Now it definitely looks a lot weaker. There is just from the first 2 places we've checked, there seems to be a hell of a lot less loot, and primarily the most expensive loot that we've actually got is from outside in a safe, which it's never a good thing. And just checking around, checking behind some of these areas. Sometimes there can be bitcoins, like actually in the chairs. You want to check down here, make sure that we aren't missing anything. Over here, this can actually have like body armor on. There can be 2 rare spawns on the floor over here, which there aren't anything in. On the chairs, there can also be stuff over here looking pretty weak. I mean, there's like literally nothing. I mean, Rusted Room was pretty weak, but this is even weaker. I mean, previously I was getting like about 2 million every single time we came in this room. Now, I mean, we've had 1 rare. 1 rare out of the entire room. So far. Which is pretty unbelievable. And over here, got ourselves another duffel. I very rarely count duffels as like the loot, because at the end of the day, there could be anything in there. And so kind of attributing it to the fact that you managed to get something. So we can grab that. So at least we've got another cultist. We'll drop out the ammunition. And move that up there. Grab that one. Nothing really over here. Checking the piggy's mouth. Over here looks like a skull. So we can drop out. What do we want to drop out? Let's just drop out the rubles. Grab that one. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot around. I'm sure I may have missed something. No moonshines in this run, which is just a joke. Considering like I was literally averaging about 4 moonshines previously. Yeah, that really does suck. So not a great haul from the relax room. And you can probably expect that your kind of runs are going to be the similar sort of story. Relax room keys were like 200k. I would not pay 200k now. I think that is probably a bit too much. Now we can just go ahead and extract at this point. There's nothing really else for us to check or anything. I mean, we can check various different rooms, but we've pretty much min-maxed how much money we're going to make from each of our slots in our backpack and everything like that. Not too bad of a run, but definitely nowhere near where streets actually used to be, and certainly very, very, very far off of what we used to have on streets, where we were averaging like 4 or 5 million every single run. And even more when you did manage to find the rusted key itself. Now, a bit of a thing about the rusted key, the spawn rate seems to be about the same as it was previously. From what I've seen it 3 times so far out of like 6 raids, so it doesn't seem to be too rare, but definitely the loot in the rusted room seems to be a bit of a problem, bit of a issue when it comes to trying to make money in the game. So it's definitely been and gone in terms of the maximum profitability within PVE mode at this current moment in time, but hopefully we'll see some changes from BSG to actually improve the loot like it previously was, because it's no fun running around the map with absolutely no loot within some of the best areas for loot in the game. So yeah, I mean, let's take a look at the actual value of stuff that we got within the raid. So obviously Tetris about 100k, we've got a Bulbex which is like 60k, something like that, might be like 40. Bear statues, Raven statues, all of this sort of stuff, very cheap, like 50k per one on average. Same with Optimascope. A little intelligence folder is nice because that's like 400k. We've got ourselves a skull, obviously got the flare from the actual scope, so we're probably sitting around about 200 or sitting around about 1 million to like 1.5 million from this raid roughly, based on everything that we got and including the flea. But if we were to take away the flea, we'd probably be sitting at like 700k from the raid, which is pretty atrocious. And I mean, considering how much some of the stuff in the game is, it's going to take a lot of time for you to grind out certain things and getting very lucky in order for you to actually get where you want to go within the PvE mode. So yeah, it definitely sucks for a lot of people, but of course we'll just drop all of the bits and bobs that we've got from the raid into our stash, and we'll probably end up sorting it later on down the line. And we'll grab up all of that and then grab the site, hopefully drop that into our stash, and there you go. That is everything. We'll sell the rest of it for what, like 86k, something like that. And then if I show you the loot that we did actually get from the rusted key room previously, you'll see exactly how much we made. We did the same sort of story. We went to go and pick up the actual key for the relaxation room. We didn't actually use the key at that time because I knew the loot was nerfed and it probably wasn't actually worth using the key. And if we have a look at the rusted room bits that we actually managed to get out of it, this is what we got out of the rusted room. So we ended up with 8 keys, well 9 keys and a couple of GP coins at the same time. 8 keys in total, 8 as in from the room, and then the relaxation room key itself sitting at 177 for a 1 use, but for a 2 use you're sitting at 350k, so like 300k just from the key itself. So for me, probably not well, I mean, maybe you'll get a moonshine out of it, so it's probably worth using, but it's still not making you a ton of money, and for the time investment to go over there, it might not even be worth going there to actually open up. So yeah, it's an interesting one for sure, but it's up to you whether or not you want to actually get the relaxation room key opened. And then of course, in terms of the actual keys that we've got, like we're sitting at some of the lower end keys. I mean, some of the better ones are just crazy prices right now. If I go to sell some stuff on the flea, we should be able to easily see how much some of the stuff is. So if you just click on it, you can see most of these keys selling for about 20k, with the top one being like 50k. So making like anywhere from 300 to 400k for just opening the rusted room key, which is probably not worth your time, to be honest with you, as well as the relaxation room key. Actually going there, opening it up and then moving around everything, it's probably not worth your time. And maybe you'd be better off just going into a factory and killing people and selling their guns, weapons and armor than you would be from actually going into streets and trying to loot at the moment in time. Of course, when the spawns change, the loot improves, these methods become exponentially way better. So yeah, I thought I'd give that out there to you guys and do a little updated view on how the streets loot actually is right now, with both of the best places for loot previously now being pretty garbage. So there you go. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, found it informative as to a loot run that you can do and will make you money for sure. Maybe not the most optimal way, but it's still a way. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed either way. But with that being said, I will see you in the next video, and you can check out this one on screen to see exactly what the loot was like previously. It was crazy. Have a look at that one if you're interested.